Preserving game history can go one of two ways with a company. It's either yes please, we'll gladly resell you games you most likely have already bought but can't play thanks to a lack of backwards compatibility, or game history, what's that? Now by this nearly identical reskin, I mean new game. I like the former more because it's more upfront. The implication isn't always that you've already played it. Maybe you're a younger gamer willing to try older titles. Maybe you can show your support for the series by showing the publisher that there's a market. Maybe you bought it so your friends will play it because a console that has a controller cord suddenly sounds like Aunt Ruth listening to Louis Armstrong on the Davenport. Which brings us to today's retro fun bag, Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, the 2017 compilation of Mega Man's B-side material in an equally B-sided collection. That light jab shouldn't be confused with a dislike or a bias against the collection. B-side Mega Man is like experimental Mountain Dew flavors. Still noticeably Mountain Dew, but it has its own flavor that can fail, but is ultimately rewarding because you broke your comfort zone and tried something a bit different. And it's light years better than Bubsy Moon Mist. The Legacy Collection 2 features the post-NES games, which includes Mega Man 7 on the SNES, Mega Man 8 on the PS1 and Sega Saturn, Mega Man 9 on the Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360, and Mega Man 10 on the same platforms as 9. There's less of a unifying theme that ties these games together, and each one feels a little bit different in their own ways. Mega Man's 1 through 6 were like brothers, all noticeably part of the same family, but when they grew up, they each had their own small, separate families that sort of took on their own personalities. Not bad, just different. Mega Man 7 is bright and colorful, with a larger sprite size than previous games, but introduces a shop and new rush adapters. It even incorporates a little bit of Mega Man X, with a bit of exploration for upgrades, but all of them can be purchased at the shop if you so choose. It's got a little bit more focus on story, with some brief cutscenes in between the action detailing a plot that's only one small notch more complicated than previous games. It gets a lot of flack from gamers because of this vocal bias against Mega Man games that aren't 8-bit, but I consider Mega Man 7 to be one of the better games in the series, and the one that really pushed the classic series towards modernization. Mega Man 8 isn't as successful, and is definitely the weakest game in this collection. While the game looks beautiful and keeps a consistently vibrant presentation, the controls always felt a little off and the level design half-hearted. They nixed E-tanks for some unexplained reason, but compensate by refilling your health and weapon energy every time you die and every mid-stage checkpoint. The game is certainly still challenging in its own ways, like not having E-tanks in the middle of a boss fight really hurts, but it's not going to take you long to complete if you really dig at it, which can be hard at times when listening to the terrible voice acting. Thankfully, Mega Man 9 turns out a whole lot better, thanks in no small part to the cast having their vocal cords ripped out and replaced with an NES, probably loaded with a copy of Mega Man 2. Mega Man 9 gets a lot right, from having the series' overall best set of weapons to having time attacks in an endless mode. But it has one glaring flaw, and that's its insecurities. They took out Mega Man's slide and charge shot so it can feel more like Mega Man 2. And come to think of it, the music that plays when you enter Wily's castle is directly ripped from Mega Man 2, and so is the menu theme. And there's a shield weapon. And a fire weapon. And a wind weapon. And a forest area where the music begins with drums only. And terrible box art. Now the game is staring at me from across the room wearing Mega Man 2's own terrible box art. Blood dribbling down its face with the words "blue like you" written on the wall behind it. Turning away from that horrifying gaze, it's safe to conclude that Mega Man 9 really likes Mega Man 2, so much so that it loses a bit of its own identity. It still very much has its own thing going on, what with the full modernization of Mega Man, complete with DLC, but it's a little too afraid to be perfect. Still higher on the Mega Man tier list than games like 5 or 8, but still held back by its own nostalgia goggles. Mega Man 10 sets out to rectify that by being more experimental, but as a result is more hit or miss. Still fantastic, but not as fantastic as 9. Which is not fair because Mega Man 9 uses a cheat sheet, but that does make Mega Man 10 the better game. You have more characters and more unique ways to use the weapons, but they're just not as fun to use all the time as they were in Mega Man 9. Still, I appreciate 10 more because it is flawed like that. Taking risks makes for a more interesting game than being afraid to veer away from what has proven to work. And that bold risk paid off for sure, because this is kind of where the classic Mega Man series took another prolonged hiatus from gaming, this time taking the entirety of the franchise with them. Oh, sorry, I misspelled. Didn't really help as P-A-I-D-O-F-F. But anyway, that's the individual candy bars in this Easter basket, so what about all the plastic grass surrounding it? Like with the first collection, there are various quality of life features and options, and there's a challenge mode featuring bits and parts of each stage fused into a small gauntlet, a music player, and an art gallery. That's where the game takes Legacy Collection's :parentheses and turns into more of a : backslash. It's not bad, but definitely more soggy McDonald's fries than salted Wendy's ones. For starters, the save system won't let you pop off a save point whenever you want. Now it's all predetermined points, like before a boss room or after beating a stage. I played and beat all these games on their original hardware, writing down passcodes for Mega Man 7 in particular, so it's not a steel-toed kick to my entitled wireless controller nuts, but removing helpful features is never going to be considered a good thing, despite what politicians think until the midterms. Also, all the new Remix challenge modes don't combine games like it did in Legacy Collection. You won't Don't ever use the super adapter and rocket your way into a jump jump slide slide snowboarding segment. I can see the complications with 3 different generations of Mega Man on display here, but the spectacle is still somewhat diminished when you take that out. Other general chances to improve things go somewhat amiss, like how the music player still won't let you play a song of your choice throughout the menus, and how Mega Man 8 is based on the inferior PS1 version, as the Sega Saturn version had extra content that more people could have been introduced to through this collection. But all these are just bullet holes in the car after a successful bank robbery. Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 is easy to recommend based on the games it has alone. If you're looking for some solid Mega Man action, you will find it here. If you came here just for the extra content, it might not be quite as worth it, but it's still hard to say no to the convenience of having all the Mega Man games in one place, with this and Legacy Collection 1. The bells and whistles are just a nice bonus.
Hey, what about Mega Man and Bass?